Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Tuesday, the 30th of September. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this morning by Joshua Barry. How goes it, Joshua?
It goes well. We have coincidentally learned in our pre-match debrief that it is both of our mums' birthdays today. Coincidentally.
Yes.
So happy birthday to Mrs. Barry and Mrs. Clark.
Yeah, absolutely. Mental. That's hence the reason why I was off yesterday. I was up on Sunday. We had a bit of a party for my mum's 70th up at the Bowfield Hotel, which is a cracking wee hotel up near Johnston Way. So I was up for a flying visit. Actually got to watch the Rangers game as well in the pub. That was interesting to say the least. And we'll get stuck into those. But yeah, happy birthday to Mrs. Clark and Mrs. Barry. Hopefully you both have fantastic days. And if you are tuning in, if it's your mum's birthday or whoever, then happy birthday to any of you guys too as well. So there you go. That's just got the shout outs out the way. Before we crack on to all things Rangers, a quick word for our podcast sponsors, Willows Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust and proud partners of the Rangers Review. If you're needing the new fence, these are the guys to call. They've got over 20 years of experience in the fencing trade, and no job is too big or small for them. You get free consultations as well as 10% off if you use the code Rangers Review over on their website, which is willows-fencing.com. Right, we'll kick off with quite a few bits and pieces to discuss. Josh, I know you were on with Chris yesterday, but we had the embargoed press conference from Max Aarons that was unveiled yesterday. We've seen that, and what he had to say. He was the unlikely match winner at Almond Vale, as stoppage time strike earning Rangers the first 3 points of the season. First appearance since that debacle over in Belgium, and he spoke about sort of trying to start again, I'd imagine, redeem the fans' trust in him. I'm going to play a little clip, folks, then we'll get on to him. Here he is.
No one was more disappointed than myself with that. I've never been sent off in my career, and a moment like that, a lapse in concentration, was extremely disappointing for me, especially in a crucial game like that. And it was always going to be a difficult game for the team, let alone with 10 men. So I knew I wanted to make up for that as quick as possible, and the first chance since that game on the pitch was today. So hopefully, in a small way, I've done that.
There you go, Josh. I don't think many would have had Max Aarons on their betting list to score the winner on Sunday, but could that be a bit of a turning point? Not on discuss Rangers, of course, but in his Ibrox career, it's not been the best of starts for him.
No, it's been tough, hasn't it? Ever since he played left back, and did okay in some games, but then had a couple of difficult evenings too, and it culminated in that Kiev Club Bruges. Don't know why I'm thinking of Dynamo Kiev. That was last year. Didn't go well either. The Club Bruges match, and I think that moment there is obviously it isolates Max Aarons, but it was kind of a whole team issue, wasn't it? And I think it summed up almost like two of the issues that have really compounded this start to the season and made the tone, the conversation what it is. One of which being, I think, off the ball. And to be fair to Russ Martin, he's spoken a lot about that, and people say that he puts a lot of emphasis onto that, and that certainly in training there is work on what Rangers do out of possession. But I don't think they've been great in that side of the game. Even against Livingston at the weekend, I still think they kind of concede territory a bit too easily and get pushed back a bit too easily. And in that moment, it was too easy for Bruges to play over the top, and I think it was Tello Asgard was a bit slow off the mark to press, and Max Aarons gets caught. But also Rangers hadn't adapted really their shape at all or their approach since going 1-0 down. So it's a bad moment for him. He's not played since, and it was a great finish. The thing that stood out, I think Chris and I discussed it yesterday, but the thing that stood out for me from that goal was that Nico Raskin is like Rangers' most dangerous player in the air, and one of their best attacking threats at the moment is just Raskin from corners. I don't know to what extent there's a pattern of routines to get him into those positions. I think just throwing him at the front post in the same way they used to do it with Joe Rebo. If you think about it, it leads to the penalty. It leads to Derek Cornelius's goal was overturned by VAR. it leads to the winner eventually from Max Aarons. I know we'll come on to discuss Raskin and James Tavernier maybe a bit later in the show. But yeah, Max Aarons was in the right place at the right time, wasn't he? And it was quite a good finish. It was not the finish of a out of confidence player. So fair play to him for that.
Yeah. Yeah. At one point, I mean, when he signed for Rangers, he was tipped for big money moves to some real mega clubs, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, were touted wanting him when he was at Norwich City, and his career has somewhat fallen away a little bit. So it's up to him. There is a player in there, but we haven't seen it yet. Good finish though. Yeah, I give him credit for that, and let's hope it is a bit of a line in the sand. John O'Rourke gets in touch. He says, hard to believe it's October tomorrow, and Rangers have only just picked up their first 3 points. Unbelievable. It certainly is. But they made hard work of it. I know that, like I say, you and Chris delved into it yesterday. Joshua, watching the game unfold. It was another one of those. First half, they knocked the ball about well. There's some good passages of play in there, and should have really been more than one in front by the break. Second half was just more of what we have witnessed, unfortunately, and no surprise to see Livingston equalise. I thought that was how it was going to play out in the end, but certainly given, despite the winning goal from Aarons, the chant still clearly audible from the supporters, and they're not happy with Russell Martin. I think that is clear as day. Again, I think we're still in. Well, who knows if we're still in here when Rangers took on Genk, that their manager, Torsten Fink, had 2 games to save his job. I'm not too sure how many games Russell Martin has to save his job. I don't know if there's an appetite to change that. Certainly not if Rangers are winning, but he has to make sure he wins next week. I think Thursdays was pretty much like Groundhog Day. We said last week, Joshua said that Genk will take care of itself. It's Livingston, but it was a bigger game. Similar this week, I know Rangers have started off poorly in the Europa League, but it's all about the league at this moment in time. Need to go to Falkirk, which won't be easy, and win there also. Yeah,
Genk was strange.
Very.
It was really strange. And Blair wrote a great piece on the website yesterday, trying to just articulate like how have we got here to this position, whereby it is really since the news of the takeover emerged and the anticipation and the excitement of that, it has felt like I think the phrase Blair used was like a chain reaction of not always negative, but just things that haven't worked out or decisions that people have questioned. And the one element I think you can be critical of probably is the fact that arguably under previous regime, Derek, I think there's an element of you can be too close to a football club, and a lot of people had Rangers' best interests at heart, but we see it right across. You see it at Man United with Jim Ratcliffe, who sits at the top of that tree. Arguably, maybe he shouldn't because he's not made his money in football. But sometimes decision makers, there can be an emotive and emotional element of that probably isn't helpful. Too quick to sack certain managers or give them contracts, whatever it may be. There's like a sweet spot in the middle, isn't there, where you have to consider, I think, fan feeling, and you have to, and the biggest point, which I feel has been so obvious going into the season as well, how is the crowd going to react to a new style of football? How is it going to play into the experience of these new players? Because if you're someone like Max Aarons or even Joe Rothwell, experienced guys, it's difficult to go and play that style of football at Ibrox when things aren't going well. And you probably, again, this new regime to a point has fallen into a trap of it's such a difficult, unless you are on top when you're at Rangers, it's such a difficult place to develop players. And there's so many examples of this over the past few years. And Mikey Moore, I thought, made a good impact when he came off the bench at the weekend, and he was aggressive and he went forward when he could. But the fact that he's almost turned into a bit of a lightning rod already when he's 18, someone who's really still learning the game. He shouldn't. A loan signing like Mikey Moore, Derek, I think should be someone who comes in, plays a little bit in the first couple of months in the season, because Rangers, in an ideal world, sign that out and out, nailed on starter of a right winger, and he can come onto the game and feel his way into it. But we're still in this position again, as we'll come on to maybe with James Tavernier and Nico Raskin, where I think you're looking around and you're looking who's on the pitch in the game against Livingston and the game against Hibs, and you're thinking, aside from those two, who is going to lead by example, show these young guys the way forward? And I wrote after that Hibs game on Raskin that, it felt like leaders give people space to grow and on the pitch. And if you think of the best leaders in a traditional football sense, someone who will risk things, someone like Raskin who can deal with the antagonism of the crowd at points and how isolated you can be in a stadium like that. For me, there's still not enough of those players. I went in a bit of a tangent there, but so much of that comes back to that point for me, because it was always going to be difficult. There was always going to be teething issues, and I feel like there's been not enough due diligence maybe done on like what is that part going to look like. Yes, in an ideal world, it might look great in the end when these players are developed and when they're hitting form and when they spend a number of months in a coaching system that gets the best out of them. But you need to get the idea off the ground, and to do that, I think you need a real number of experienced players, of leaders. Maybe Derek Cornelius will come into that, but we need to wait and see at the moment.
That's a recruitment issue for me, and Kevin Thelwell should be looking at that. I don't think the recruitment has been good enough this season. Like you say, I don't think there's been enough experienced heads brought in. There has been some, but not enough. Just looking at a few comments coming in, some interesting points. This one here from Colin Cooper. He says, Derek, what if Russell Martin wins his next 10 league games but gets thumped in Europe? I would accept that, I've got to say it. Listen, the league is where it's at. Rangers have not managed to sort out their league form for too long now. We've sort of enjoyed European nights. They has to get the league sorted more than anything else. So I would be content with that. Joshua, would you?
I think
I can't see it happening, incidentally. I would be amazed if that happens.
Listen, it's a big ask, and who knows if he wins away at Falkirk. But Rangers haven't won back-to-back games yet, so I agree. At the moment, you're still going.
Let's not get carried away.
Yeah, you're still going on the pretense of could rather than will.
Yes.
Even if you look at the much heralded expected G's on the Rangers review, so, Sunday was better. If you take away the penalty, I think the XG difference was still about like 0.9. So it's better, but it's not. I don't think it was. It was brilliant. Yeah, I think it was fine, and I think it was a fine result. Yeah, he'd be better placed to win games in the league than in Europe at the moment. But equally, you can't afford to go over to Graz and lose like 2 or 3-0, because that would dampen an already damp mood. If you were to go over there and draw and then get a result against Falkirk, then that keeps you going to some extent. And then you have the international break, which gives you a bit of time to work with the players who remain. We can maybe come on to this too, but I'd like to see a couple of players like Nadim Barami get a chance, Derek. Someone who hasn't been in the squad yet, perhaps requires a little bit of freshness, a bit more of a goal threat, because, again, if he's not going to get an opportunity now, then when? I think he's looked quite bright from the bench, and it probably is the opportunity to rotate over the next 2 games, given it's quite a quick turnaround.
Yep, I agree. This is an interesting comment as well, just on the Livy game. Before we move on, a comment here saying, Bob, I love that username. It says, I see it as the first half was the players doing their own thing, and Russell Martin telling them to do what they are told in the second half, thus causing the issues. Main problem is still Russell Martin's lack of tactics. So not a big fan there. I think Neil McCann said in commentary, Joshua, about the chaos at the end of the game, which allowed Rangers to go and score that winning goal. It's so far away from the control that Russell Martin is looking for, really. So where do we go from there on that? I think we've touched on it before. I don't think this control style of play, whatever he's looking to implement, it is going to work in Scottish football. You look at Hearts, who are quite rightly top of the league at the moment. A pretty simple brand of football. It's not rocket science. Get the ball out wide, get it up to your strikers, and then you should have enough quality in your team to get the better of most teams. That is where I stand on it. I think it's pretty simple. You hear footballers saying this as well, ex-players and what have you. It's a simple game that I feel has been overcomplicated by Russell Martin fans. Saying this when I was watching the game on Sunday. It's the entertainment biz. We all say that in football. I get it's a results-driven business as well, but you want to be entertained, don't you? I mean, that's that goal by Tav on Sunday. Is that the first in open play in 6 games? Would you say?
Yeah, I would say I'm not counting. I'm not counting Finlay Curtis's away from Mirren as a set piece goal or an open play goal. I don't know what I'm doing that as. Shall we? So the point there about I think in the first half you've got to also look at when it does work. Why does it work? But then question, well, why does it not work so frequently? So I think in the first half is what Russell Martin wants it to look like, because the space was in behind Livingston. They're playing quite a high line. What Rangers were starting to do was build it up, but then go direct in behind. And we saw this against Victoria Pilsen away, where Jack Butland played long all the time because that's where the free man was. The gap still is so big between when they do that and when they don't. I think because, and again, when Russell Martin will dissect performances, he'll always speak about the care on the ball and that being kind of his side's undoing. So I think if you were to critique his philosophy so far, it would be that, again, Bruges the nadir, if I can say that word, of this, is that there's a dogmatism attached to having the ball sometimes, which is having the ball for the sake of it. Now, every manager, there's no perfect tactical system, because, you can play a long ball and it gets away from your goal, but it gives it back to the opposition. What I would say is that it feels like in the last 6 months, if we have a brief football tactics philosophical conversation, which we often do, it feels like there has been a bit of a shift away from the extremities of that, like dogmatism, even at the top level. So if you look at Guardiola against Arsenal, and I wrote this in the piece last week, that balance of like the importance of results, and in football, modern football, there's no real ability to explain away results because of we played well, or the overall progress of the project, which you just,
people aren't interested in that.
People aren't interested. The only time that people are interested, the example we have of a Rangers manager doing it is Steven Gerrard, because where he started, because of the incremental progress over time, but also just because of some extenuating factors, like the fact he was Steven Gerrard, like the fact that there was a break in that season at a point where his team were really struggling, but there was that progress, there was markers, there was wins. So I think if you go back to that Man City Arsenal game with Guardiola defending with like a back 5 defenders, having 30% of the ball, it feels like he being the man who's influenced football so much, and Russell Martin in previous clubs, I don't know if this is the case at Rangers, has had a quote of Guardiola's framed in his office about trusting the game model, and because that eventually will bring you success. You see it with Ruben Amorim, he's not changing his 3-4-3 because he wants to get sacked, although I'm sure he would get a healthy payoff. He's doing it because he thinks that is what will help him win over time. But I agree with you. I think there's not an excuse for that level of dogmatism, and you're seeing football at top level become a little bit more free and expressive from the constraints of we always need to have the ball. Because if you look at the first half against Hibs, although Rangers come out on top of that, I still think their issue is, and their issue has been domestically under Martin, is too much about control. So that's what they fall back to. That's the principle. Keep the ball. A lot of sides are happy for you to do that. If they don't risk losing it enough, and they take risks in the build-up, they don't risk losing it enough in the final third, I think the game has often looked too predictable.
Yeah, just when you mentioned Russell Martin having that Guardiola quote, if he still has it in his office, I do not know. I've not been in his office, but just reminding me of David Brent and his lyrics on his office wall from Desiree. Money don't make my world go round. I'm reaching out for a higher ground. I won't sign the rest, but yeah, there you go.
Can I just say very quickly on that, like, we do laugh at, like, man, like, I don't know if you saw Arteta got like RAF pilots into Arsenal the other day.
Yes.
And all these things do seem funny to the out, but then internally, I think football is such a niche, unique environment that if you win, all these things are fine. And because, Arteta did he not have like pickpockets going around the Arsenal pre-season camp last season?
Yeah.
Right. If and when he eventually wins the league, there'll be nice details about how he continued to push his side's mentality up and up and up and until eventually. Now, to what extent these things work, I do not know, but I just think all of these little quirks in football are framed by.
I don't mind it. You don't mind if you win games, to be honest.
Exactly. Yeah. Same as Loch Lomond, what we spoke about in your stunning performance a couple of weeks ago. Like, Rangers did win that weekend. And therefore it wasn't a talking point. Had they lost, it would have been a stick to beat them with.
Yeah, it would have been. Jordy says, go get the guitar card, Derek. Yeah, we'll move swiftly on. Let's move on to a forgotten man, if you like, Joshua, and that is Clinton Nsiala. He's posted on Instagram, a bit of a cryptic post, a number of images on there. I'll post one of those. He used a bit of an AI image of him in Rangers training gear with the comment "still here." Big Leon Balogun with a praying emoji for him as well. A few other comments as well on there, but a host of images and interesting stuff. Another image featured the words "progress isn't a straight line." As we know, it's sort of the topic of Nsiala was. I can't remember when Russell Martin addressed it, but it was in the summertime, of course, where he said that it'd be beneficial for him to go out and play games somewhere. He had a conversation with him. A move never materialised, which I was surprised about. I think we reported that Dynamo Kyiv were certainly interested in him, but he wasn't interested in moving over there. And he's just basically doing nothing, which is a bit of a waste for me. Spoke about him last week when I was on with Johnny, I think. At this point, is he? I know that a lot of comments will be coming in. Is he any worse than Emmanuel Fernandez, who spent a considerable amount of money on? And it would be interesting to hear Russell Martin's in-depth thoughts on Clinton Nsiala and just why he never gave him an opportunity in the friendlies in the summer. He did say that everyone's got a clean slate when he comes in, but it doesn't look like he's had much of a chance at the moment.
Yeah. Nsiala, who spent time training with those other, don't know if you can call them the bomb squads, but the likes of Cifuentes and Ben Davies and others who were out the picture quite early, didn't really move to the end of the window, and has also spent time, we believe, training with the under-19s. Yes, it is intriguing because he obviously kind of didn't start to play under Barry Ferguson, and he had some bad moments. Who in this Rangers team has not had bad moments? And Kilmarnock away was truly like a bad 30 minutes. I would argue that. I think Robin.
I don't think you shouldn't. That annoys me that's used as he's rubbish. Then everyone can have a nightmare 30 minutes. I remember Fernando Rickson at Parkhead get taken off after a nightmare. He was getting roasted by Bobby Pettit, but went on and won titles. Was brilliant for Rangers in the end. So I'm reluctant to sort of just beat him with that rugby park stick until the end of time.
And Andy came on in the Europa League quarter-final away, and he looks completely fine. And so the put to me recently that one of the clubs who were actually interested in him in January, who'd expressed an interest, was Club Brugge, who obviously Rangers know all about. When he came into that team and he played well under Clement, and it almost wasn't the plan for him to jump up that early, but he took his opportunity. And at times he struggled, yes. Again, you're not coming into exactly a perfectly functioning defence either, are you? But my question would be similarly, like, it's hard to isolate Manny Fernandez because he's not really had a chance, Derek. And I think he had some bad moments at St Mirren away, some decent moments too. He scored that header at Alloa. And I think he's a player who was bought because Rangers think he has a lot of potential to be a certain... and there's a lot of elements in his profile that could help him play at a higher level as a centre back. But there was this image on the Hearts game, I think it was when Kemar Roof was there, which I think was a Hearts game, and in the director's box you had a range of players, and on the far left was Clinton Nsiala, and on the far right was Emmanuel Fernandez. And then it comes back to the summer's recruitment, whereby I'd be going, look, maybe it's good to sign someone like that and plan ahead this window, or could we just be a bit more pragmatic and use Nsiala as our like fourth or fifth choice centre back? He's left-footed. There's an argument at the moment with no left back, and again, I've heard people speak about this that perhaps he could play as that kind of like inverted fullback that Jayden Magoma is playing, which Then maybe he doesn't have the agility to play as a fullback off the ball. I don't know, but it's just a potential. However, would you have then been better spent using that money elsewhere to sign an out-and-out starter in one position? Because again, if you look across the Rangers squad at the moment, I'll put it back to you. How many out-and-out starters are there at the moment? How many do you have?
Been brought in Kasama.
Yeah. So for the money spent, do you have 6 or 7 or 8 players who you're they are the ones who are going to start in the semi-final against Celtic? So yeah, it's obviously a difficult situation for him, and it just shows how quickly football changes, especially when, as has so often been the case at Rangers in recent years, decision makers change. Because a few months ago, Clinton Nsiala was a promising young player who would have felt like his career was going a certain direction at Ibrox, and now, unfortunately for him, he's not really been in the picture.
Yep, that Instagram post, I was looking at the pictures, and it just screams to me a player that is very frustrated at not being able to play or feature in the first team. So, now hopefully something can be sorted for him to play football, because he'll be itching to do just that. It's just seemed a bit of a waste. We've seen this before with young boys, and I don't want him to waste any time in his career. But it's certainly a strange one for me. Like you, I thought he would have been a suitable fourth choice at centre back to come in, and given that he can almost play left back. A few comments saying as well. I said last week that the fact Rangers haven't brought in another left back just defies belief to me. Usually you want 2 players vying for the one position. Jayden Magoma knows that he's playing there no matter what, unless he gets injured. So not ideal, I would say. On the other side, Joshua, is James Tavernier, of course, scored a well-taken goal in the first half against Livingston. Missed the penalty, of course, which was not very good, but I'll let my way with that. I've seen a few comments coming in because we titled this video, "Is James Tavernier still Rangers' most important player?" I would argue he probably is. Certainly right back, we mentioned Max Aarons earlier on. Don't think he's any better than James Tavernier. We've got Dujon Sterling coming back. I think that's still a wee way away. Don't expect him to feature in the first team anytime soon.
Well, I think he will be back for the end of the year. I think in an ideal world, I think you could see him in October potentially. But I agree with you. You need to. I don't think he's going to start. I don't think he's going to usurp 2 right backs in October. But then, look, Max Aarons there looked good against Pilsen, didn't he? And again, there's all these pockets of you need to put a certain number of games together to make anything, I think, meaningful. And again, that comes into what Russell Martin said a few times about speaking about August. Normally, we'd be only a couple of games into the season, but that just isn't the case up here. And inside August, you have 8 almost must-win games. And again, you're looking at again, I'll put it back to you. Who is Rangers' 3 most important players at this moment in time?
Well, Bob quite rightly says it's Butland at the moment, Derek. So Butland, Tav, and Raskin probably.
Yeah. So that's again that we said a lot, I think, after and you need to give a transfer window time and players time to breathe. I think Gassam will be a really good value for money signing. I think Telo Asquar's playing too deep, but I think if you look at the last year of his career or so and international involvement, I think he's a player that has a lot of quality, and if he's in the box more and if he's given a bit more license, can get good numbers in the final third for Rangers. But again, have they signed that core of the squad? Will Derek Cornelius be that? Maybe, I don't know. I think Jayden Magoma's looked good, but again, like one of a few other players, he's a straight loan. So there's that trade-off with it, isn't there? It's not ideal. And I think Tavernier and Raskin, I agree with Bob. Butland's probably been Rangers' best player so far this season, I think, isn't he? Been pretty consistent after a difficult season last year.
You don't want your goal. No disrespect to Jack Butland, who has been good. You don't want your goalkeeper to be your best player. No. Ideally, you want your creative players who are banging the goals in, but not creating enough.
And also, you look back to one of the many already narratives of this season, which has so many and yet is so young. Motherwell, first day of the season, Russell Martin comes out and goes after his team, for want of a better phrase, justifiably so, on that afternoon. But who gets dropped out of the team? Kieran Dowell, who's not been involved much recently. I think Danilo, if I'm not wrong, I think it was Danilo. Yeah, I think Dessers came in for Pilsen. But the two main ones were Tavernier and Raskin.
Yeah.
Now you go forward to this last couple of weeks, and they're the two players that, again, I think, yeah, you're relying on them. Now, part of that is because Max Aarons and Joe Rothwell haven't been able to do it consistently. I think Rothwell in patches, when he's come off the bench recently, when you see him driving forward, you want to get him moving with the ball, don't you?
Yeah.
Because he's fast when he gets running. But how much is he going to play? Is he as robust as Raskin? And is he going to cover ground off the ball like Nico Raskin? I don't think he is. So, yeah, whether James Tavernier is, as the title says, whether he's the individual most important player, he's certainly one of the top 2 or 3. And this feels like last season all over again, where talk of him getting phased out and he ends up playing the most minutes of any player in the squad.
That's going to happen again. It's succession plan. It's a failure to succession plan. Rangers should have went out and, I mean, he's out of contract in the summer. The whole back line is a major concern for me because they've just kicked the can down the road and they're not looking at bringing guys in for the next, but trying to build for the next 5 years, for example, get guys cemented in their positions. At right back, Rangers are going to need a right back, a left back, and 2 centre halves in the summer, which is then you're asking them to all gel.
Yeah,
which isn't ideal, is it?
It's not. No, it's not ideal. I feel like we should have a segment on the show at the moment that's like, what's one positive thing about Rangers to just not totally depress people at the start of days. I thought their goal was well worked. Tav's goal was well worked, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Who knows? Listen, as we round up, I would just say that when you're not winning consistently, Rangers have won 5 games out of 15. There's a reason for that, and the conversation is definitely going to be more on why that is the case. Who knows if we go and get a couple of results this week? But yes, I thought Blair's piece yesterday, which I would urge people to read, was really good in trying to paint the picture of, if you're an external observer, how have Rangers got into this situation whereby they score this 94th minute winner, and yet there's still chance against their head coach right after. So I'd encourage people to read that piece because I think it illustrates the dynamic quite well.
Yep, next comment here for all victims hysteria. Joshua, any update on Lyle Cameron missing in action? No update on injury. We got an update last week from Russell Martin. I think he's back in proper training this week, so hopefully we'll see him sometime soon. And Darren Nisbet with a point just on the Livy game. When was the last time he had a clean sheet in the league? Well, Celtic, of course, at home, but I've seen the last away league clean sheet, if I'm not mistaken, the 8th of December.
Really?
Which is bonkers. I'll take Adam Thornton's word for it. I've seen him saying that. So if that is the case, it is I mean,
well, the Tavernier's goal was the first against Livingston. Was the first time Rangers have taken the lead in the Scottish Premiership since Tavernier scored against Motherwell on the opening day of the season. Which again, I know it's only 6 games, but
it's still farcical, really, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens this week. Falkirk haven't started the season brilliantly, but again, it's an astral pitch, and I don't think Rangers can take anything for granted at the moment. So let's see.
John McGlynn has them well organised, so I expect it to be another scrappy affair, that's for sure. But we'll call time on today's show. Big thank you to Joshua and to you all for tuning in. Those of you that are Rangers Review Extra members will record our Q&A. It was off yesterday, so apologies for that, folks, if you were expecting that yesterday. But we'll record it at the usual time of 1 p.m. this afternoon. So I'll pop out the request over on the community page. If you get your questions in, we'll get through as many as we possibly can. Chris is heading over to Austria for that game on Thursday, so we'll speak to him no doubt tomorrow. We press conference day tomorrow as well. Rangers will be, I'd imagine, in the evening with these European games, Josh, do you reckon?
I think it might be around about 6 o'clock. Something like that. So, yes. Chris will be over there bringing you all the latest, and I believe on that comment of Lyle Cameron that you're right, that there was that update that he was expected back very soon, and he's been a miss, so I think he'll be a positive addition back into that team.
Yep. And just before I forget as well, loads of you are subscribers to the Rangers Review and also to the YouTube channel as well. The best way to consume your content is via our app. So you can download it via Apple or Android, and that is the best way, folks. So make sure you do just that. The links, all important links, are in the description below this video. Right. Enjoy your Tuesday, whatever you are doing, if I don't speak to you, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.